nervous at the table. So does the experience in life mean that you're going to be able to drop into being a notary signing agent and not be nervous because you're experienced in life? Oh, you're muted, Miss Carol.
I was trying to be polite so I don't interrupt.
There you go.
Okay, well, as I said, I've been doing this, I'm going on 12 years now. And the majority of the age of the students that came to me in the first 6-7 years was 20s, mostly 30s, some 40s. A few years ago, things took a complete flip, and almost all of our graduates now are in their late 40s, mostly in their 50s, a great deal of them in their 60s, and even in their 70s. As we all know, I don't know how old all of you are, but this is Primetime Notaries, which I'm going to assume you're near your 50s and 60s. We're being abused and neglected and mistreated by people in this country now when it comes to employment. Yeah. As far as my occupation, an escrow an escrow officer, let's say, I was trained. It took 3 years of training, took a long time to get my own desk. But what we did back then is we knew everything. We did the sales, we did the intake, we did the typing of the instructions, we did the ordering of the demands, we worked with title, we did everything to disbursement of funds and recording of the documents. Now, you talk to an escrow officer trying to find out one thing. I just did a loan on a piece of property, and it's like pulling teeth. You got to talk to one person after another. And I'd be willing to bet if I ask how many of you to raise your hand who have lost your occupation or lost your job, not just because of COVID, but because of COVID or because you've been replaced by younger people, I imagine that a good deal of you are going to raise your hand, because that's what's happening to my graduates, my students, and they come to us for this second way of life. And they are doing great. We have the experience. We have lifetime of experience and knowledge and education and just working with people and learning how to deal with day-to-day things in this life. I have so many graduates that are scared to death. They don't think they can do it. They have maybe physical disabilities, or they're just afraid to kind of get out there. Maybe they've been a housewife that's been home for many, many years and haven't worked in 20, 25 years. And now they're suddenly facing no retirement money, and they have to, find something else. So, I mean, I'd love to hear more stories. I hear a lot of stories when I talk to my students, but I find that this has been so rewarding for so many people and gotten them a whole new fresh start in life. If there's people out there that are on this call, or that you have friends that are looking for something, tell them, even if it's not notary business, if there's something that they've always had a passion to learn, maybe some interest that they have that they create things that they might want to get out there and do or sell. It's just amazing what you can begin to do at the age of 65, 70 years old. I think it keeps you younger, and you become more compassionate too. I think you're more understanding of what people are going through when a young couple comes to you and they're buying their first house, and they've been gone through this whole loan process, which can be miserable. Excuse me. And you have, excuse me, the compassion to understand and take more time with them to explain to them some of these things that nobody else is going to take time with them to do. So I'm here for my students, especially and graduates, to really encourage them and make sure that they understand that they have a very important role in their life, and not just benefit to themselves, but how much more they can benefit the people that they deal with and they reach out to.
Interesting fact, because I was told at a signing one time that their daughter, this couple's daughter, wanted to be a notary signing agent, but she was too young. So the public perception is that most of us notaries are not, early 20s. We're 40s and 50s and 60s. And in the chat window, you had a graduate, Debbie Barnett, just graduated from Notary to Pro last night, and she's 58. You've got a 60, a 47 and 50, a 63, 56, 66, 53, 67. So they're all, everybody we've got today looks to be in those latter years. One person put a comment on here, Joanna, retired 2 years ago from education, school administration for the last half. And this is allowing her to take care of her 98-year-old grandmother. So there's income and flexibility in this job. And that's because we don't want to be Walmart greeters, do we? We're not ready for Walmart, are we? No. Okay. Thank you, Carol.
Can I add something to that? When I was in my 20s, and don't let the filter that I used for Zoom, people always say, oh, you look so young, but I'm 40. And when I started this, I was in my 20s. And
I want that filter, Ronnie.
you can do it in your Zoom settings. It gets rid of the wrinkles along with the Botox. And there's a reason why I shave up. If you saw my earlier post from today, this beard's gray, and this might be dyed. But and there's a reason I shave the sides, because it's all gray. But when I started this, I would go to people's houses and they would say, oh, I was expecting a little old lady, and because that's what notaries used to be. And now we're 40s, 50s, 60s. And there are a lot of people being trained now by these 6-figure courses. College students are doing this part-time. It's, Uber and Lyft has changed the entire world. We want what we want. We want it now. The market's being flooded by anyone who can get a stamp. But I will tell you what sets you apart is your training. I look at notary profiles every single day for Unlimited Ink. We did 1,000 orders in Arizona alone this month, not to mention what we did nationwide from here to Washington and just the few that we do on the East Coast. And I have to choose, my team goes through and makes sure every notary is text. Every notary on signing order that comes up within 25 miles gets a text message. And I am generally the one, I'm teaching my team to choose who's best. We go by order count. How many orders have they done? Do they have a Notary to Pro certificate? What is in their biography? And when I see these, I hate to say it, I've been bashed on YouTube one too many times because I say something and then somebody comes back and go, oh, he's ageist or he's racist or blah, blah, blah. But it's true. When I see the younger crowd and their order count is like 3, they've done 3 orders and they're 21 and it's a college photo of them like with their friends, I think this person can't be at my signing table. But when I see someone say, US veteran, and that tells me, okay, they have more life experience than I do. Or when they say, I worked at a company for 25 years, I factor those things into my mind when I'm choosing who is the right notary for this order. And I see people saying, I'm a Notary to Pro graduate and I took this course and I was employed for 25 years. And, even when they say, I've got grandkids, but I worked for 25 years, their profiles really speak to me. And I think, this is the person that I want to do our order. And I'm going to tell you, you know, the younger generation gets less orders from us at Unlimited Ink than the older generation, because I've been a younger notary and now I own a signing agency in my 40s. You know, I've had to work, claw, scrape my way to the top, and only in the last 3 years has Unlimited Ink crossed into what we are today. We are a big contender when it comes to signing agencies now, but for the first half of the decade, that wasn't true. I was out driving Uber and Lyft and trying to make it happen. People didn't trust me because I was younger. An older generation of notaries has so much trust because life experience. You've already made mistakes. You're more responsible. I rarely have a problem with someone over the age of 30 versus someone in their younger years. There's only one notary in this country that I know of that I really trust. She's one of our white glove notaries, but she came from 3 generations of notaries. Her grandparents are notaries in Arizona. Her mother and father work for us in Arizona. Their grandparents don't. They've got their business down. Her parents work for us, and she works with us. And she's a white glove notary, but she came, it was like in her genes. But that's an exception. I don't trust these notaries when they're younger and they don't have life experience and they don't take training to do things. I actually look at them like you're going to have to pay your dues, whereas I'm a lot more lenient because I know an older notary, you've already been in a situation, whether it be notary related or not, when you know you have to pick up the phone to call someone when you need help. And we get more of that from our older generation of notaries when they don't know an answer or they don't know what's going on or they need help, they pick up the phone. So there's a lot to be said for life experience.
Ronnie, do you have time for a quick question?
Sure.
Candace, you want to unmute and ask your question?
So as y'all know, we are on YouTube or in other forums and people talk. And I had another notary who is a realtor like me. I don't know if he was a broker. He told me, don't put that you're a realtor on any of your profiles because they don't, title companies don't like to hire notaries that are realtors. And I thought I need to ask Ronnie that because I was a little shocked on that one.
I can answer that right away. You should separate your notary career from your realtor career. At Unlimited Ink, we've actually had title offices call us and say, please don't use that notary. And we explain to them they know not if they're a party to the transaction, but you're working with the general public. And then you work with lenders trying to get them approved for loans. And you work with title agencies. And if you are partnered up with a title agency or you're partnered up with a lender on doing these referrals, you're now a party to a transaction, whether you sold the house or not. So you want to keep a clean email for your notary business and a clean email from your realtor. You know, as a realtor, that if you work with a title agency driving the business, you can't be a notary at their table. That's just wrong. So you're expected to know the lines, but definitely keep it separate. You know you can't represent one of your clients in a signing. You can't be the realtor and the notary on their transaction, but they don't know you know that. So that's what they're doing, is trying to preemptively cut that off. And
Okay,
so
so
that's why we say keep it separate.
Of LinkedIn, just get it off of LinkedIn, get it off of everything.
I wouldn't say get it off of everything. I would just say your email address and how you conduct business, have a different phone number for your notary business that forwards in, and you know what that is being forwarded in a different email. That should remedy the entire situation. And when you're a notary, you're a notary. When you're a realtor, you're a realtor. And just be those two.
Now I'm a notary now, and I am a part-time realtor, and I worked for, I don't know, 25 years as a full-time realtor. I'm only doing family and friends, which is an occasional thing. I want to be a notary. So if I am a notary, so if I need to separate them, then that's fine with me. I was just kind of shocked because in my entire career, I've always gone to the closing table with all my clients to make sure that you know, that everything was done correctly. So that's it.
I have the same thing from loan officers that come from being a loan officer. I tell them keep mum the word about being a former loan officer because it works. They have advanced knowledge of documents, and then people worry about them over explaining the documents. And whenever we take on a loan officer, like Travis was a loan officer, he's not on the call today. He's spending time with family, but and rightfully so. He's worked his butt off this week. When I first brought him on months and months and months and months ago, I said, you know, as a former loan officer, you have to know the line of drawing. Bill Morwood, who's not on the call, he's one of our white glove notaries in Arizona, and he was a former loan officer, and they know the documents inside and out, but they had to really separate those lives from what is our scope of business and what we're doing. And people are afraid of, you know, overstepping the boundaries of just being a notary. So we have to kind of really hyper focus when we're working with those platforms in order to make people understand, hey, we're a good notary. We may have background experience, but we're not going to be crossing the line. That's a really great bio if people have background for realtors and you're using it, or a former loan officer. I see Miss Carol raising her hand, so I'm gonna let her chime in. But that's really great to make sure you let people know you're not crossing the lines
Can I
that
just
you.
say one more thing? What I have in my head now is if they ask a question, I point.
No,
I point on the document, right?
it's a general description of the documents. You should know where the information is. And you know, at Notary Stars, you've been through our training. I know you're going through it. You should have a nutshell description that's very accurate for the documents. You should be able to know how that document should be executed. But the signer should also be in a logical state of mind where they can understand for themselves if they don't trust you to read the document themselves as well. So we're not point and sign notaries as signing agents. We do explain the documents. We do show them where the information
I
is.
understand that, Ronnie. Yeah. But sometimes you were talking about you should, you know, point over, and if they have any more questions, then it's the lender or the title people, right?
When it gets into figures, if it's on the settlement statement, it's for title. If it's on the CD, it's for the lender, or with the note or the deed of trust, that's all the lender. You have to know the difference between who to call.
Right.
But we can explain what the document is and we can interpret that, but we can't tell them why a figure is there. And we should never cross that line. And then Miss Carol.
Got another.
I was
Go
gonna,
ahead, Carol.
I was just gonna add a couple of things. I learned a lesson a number of years ago. Excuse me, I had a really great signing service that supported me up in the Bay Area. And I had sent my students to him. And of course, he hired Notary to Pro grads all the time. And one fellow had a biography. They always want a little bit about you, you know, these signing services. They want to know who you are and what you do. And this fellow had the best biography I'd ever seen. He'd been had a master's in this, and he was a salesman in this, did all this stuff. And he made this beautiful resume and sent it to the owner of the company. And I got a phone call a couple of days later, and he said, I don't know who this guy is. He said, he sent me his resume. He said, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'll never hire him. I said, why not? I said, he's had all kinds of experience. He was a salesman. He does this. He says, I just want to know that he knows how to be a loan signing agent. I don't care about any of that other stuff. And because he's so concerned and so show-offy, I guess he would, the way he put it, that I don't want to have anything to do with him. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And also I want to say, in describing documents, all the years that I've been in this business, people always said, well, you can't do that. You know, NNA says you can't do that. They say you can't describe it. The what and the where is what you can do. The how and the why. It's such a simple little rule. The what and the where. They want to know what their interest rate is. They always want to know the money in, the money out. So if you can show them, this is your interest rate, these are your payments, this is how many years you're going to be paying, go to those things. If they start asking, well, why is my interest rate going from here to here? I don't know. That's where you talk to your lender. So try to remember what and where, not the how or the why.
Carol, we got a couple of hands raised here. Kim has been waiting for a little while. Did I pronounce that right? Do you want to unmute and ask your question, Kim?
Oh, yes, it's Akeem, but you were very close. My question was, as a realtor for over 25 years, your profile is going to look a little thin. So how would you suggest doing that so that, you can be a viable candidate?
Could I answer
Or to
that
show
question,
your
please?
experience? Absolutely.
I would like to be the one to answer that because as a signing service owner, I review these profiles. It's my main job. So you want to put your life experience in there. I have some great profiles. If you're a veteran, please put you're a veteran. Anybody that's worked with Unlimited Ink will tell you if you're a veteran, when I call you, the first thing I say is thank you for your service. That tells me that you have training that is way beyond notary training that will make you loyal and comprehensive. If you have degrees, put those in there. If you worked for a company for 25 years, put that in there. Keep it short and concise. I have a bachelor's in this. I have, if you don't have education from a formal college institution, if you have any certifications, if you worked at a company for 25 years, if you have something that shows loyalty, put that in there. Then put your training. I took Notary to Pro. I was with Texas Training Academy. I, trained with Elizabeth Hathood, a notary of 20 years. Go into that. And then, put in that you strive. Now, I have to say this, there are some training courses out there, and I don't name them, and everyone knows who I'm talking about. If your profile says, I don't miss initials, dates, signatures on right to cancels and notes, delete that tomorrow. You're being discounted immediately, especially from Unlimited Ink, because it's a lie. Everyone's going to make a mistake. That training course should not teach notaries to put that in their profile. And I can show you hundreds of them, which I'm bound to a contract that says I can't, but I get to see these on, the signing order internal network profile of your bios, and don't put that in there. You want to lead with a good bio. It's just like writing a resume. When you write a resume at the top, there's this, little blurb that says, what you're trying to accomplish. And then make sure you can live up to that. Don't put that you work 24/7. 123 Notary taught us that for the last decade. I'm not a big fan of 123 Notary, but I did learn that from them over the years. Don't put that you're a 24/7 company when you're not a 24/7 company. Don't lie in your bios. If you have a day job, put that in there. I've taken training so that if that I won't make errors. If you can or cannot do scan backs, don't put that you have a mobile printer or a mobile scanner if you don't. Don't put that you have a smartphone if you don't. Put the real information. And if you find yourself in the blanks, get those things. Signing order actually allows you to put your Notary to Pro certificate. And we actually, there's a cheat to it. You can upload anything into that portion and it'll give you the Notary Pro logo. But Miss Carol actually sends her list out to people like me who forward it to the other companies. And we make sure that you're not getting imported unless you actually have that certificate. And you actually have to put your name on her list to be marketed. Otherwise, even if you have the certificate, it's not benefiting you. So Barbara sends me every week or every 2 weeks, depending on how busy they are, all the graduates. Today I imported 128 of them. that's for 1 week. I got another 179 from the week before. But you want to put yours in, you know, if you're getting imported, great. But there's companies that don't import like I do. They import every 6 months. And you want to make sure you're filling out your bios so that they see you. And if you don't believe me, there is a tick box in signing order that says, I only want a notary to graduate. I only want a notary who has these things: NNA certification, E&O insurance, all of these things. And we have parameters set that if you don't have the things that we require, you're just not going to see the orders. And every day I see notaries say, I don't have 100,000 E&O. And I'm like, then why are you doing loans? Most people want 100,000 minimum, not 25,000. So when you're filling out your bio, you want to be honest. You want to have everything. And then if you don't have I have to say this because I mentioned, you know, if you take a loan that requires 100,000 and you only have 25,000 and you didn't read the instructions and you just took it, guess what? They cannot fund the loan because you didn't have the credentials required. It's really important. And I have lenders every day write me, can I get the notaries, you know? You guys don't know that we pull it from signing order. And then we have $1 million policy to cover it, but a lot of signing agencies don't. And then you're just not going to get paid because you didn't live up to the standards. Make sure you fill all your profiles out as honest as possible. Be as unique as possible. Don't lie in your profiles. Don't say you don't miss things. Say if you make a mistake, you will remedy it as quickly as possible. You know, what Ms. Carroll teaches us. It's not the mistakes that we make, but it's how quickly we remedy them. Make sure you put those types of things in your profiles. Profiles are really important, and I'm glad you asked this question. I'm glad that you guys let me go first to answer it because I read them every day. Every notary that's chosen at Unlimited Inc., I or a manager reads them, and I've taught them my logic behind choosing a notary. You know, the notaries that are just like, hey, you know, we have some notaries who put TBD because they haven't filled out their bios yet. We can't hire those. Don't put TBD in your profile. This is not to be determined. You started this profile, finish the profile. And I've seen them stay that way for 4 months at a time. You know, make sure that you're really putting in your life experience. If you're a former realtor or you're a realtor, put in, you know, I was a realtor for 25 years and then I crossed over to being a notary. Give me a reason to hire you. Don't give me a reason to not hire you.
Okay, Ronnie, we are running right up on the edge of time here. I still want to give Phyllis a chance to talk to us a little bit about marketing for the after 55 notary. Miss Phyllis, take it away.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm gonna do is talk a little bit about marketing. Now, if you're doing general notary work, I always encourage my students that if they're gonna do any marketing for general notary work, try to identify a target market, somebody that you like to work with. Like if you like to work with seniors, you know, you can market to a senior market. If you want to work with attorneys, you can market to the attorneys. And then you can even break it down even further and say, okay, I want to work with estate attorneys because, you know, if you're working with estate attorneys, they do a lot of estate packages. So those are people that you would probably get a lot of work from. But if you pick a market, a target market, then you can also focus all of your marketing dollars, everything toward that particular target market. And you can also become, if you do it well, you do it the way you should do it, you can become the go-to person for that particular market. And once you become the go-to person in that particular market, anytime somebody says, well, I need something notarized, they're going to think, oh, okay, well, let me call Beth, or you should call Beth because you have become the go-to person in that market. You can do attorneys, you can do seniors, you can do social workers, case workers. And if you become that, if you're going to choose a target market, I would also encourage you to learn how to network with that target market. Join those networking organizations that cater to that particular target market. Because again, you want to become the go-to person in that market. And another thing is once you become the go-to person in that particular target market, then you can also look at expanding your target market and adding another target market to it. And you would be surprised how fast your business would grow just from doing general notary work and having a target market and becoming the expert notary in that particular market. Now, if you're going to do I know most of the people on here are doing also doing loan signings. So marketing yourself with loan signings is going to be a little bit different. Just make sure that you meet all the requirements. Make yourself marketable. Make sure one thing is to make sure that you complete that Notary to Pro training, because Carol does an excellent job with helping you market yourself as a Notary to Pro graduate. And a lot of people like to use Notary to Pro graduates, but you don't want to stop there. You know, you want to also make sure that you get your NNA background certification and your NNA certification, because those are what people are looking for when they're looking for signing agents. Also, just because you signed up with a couple of notary directories does not necessarily mean that your phone is going to start ringing. So you want to do your due diligence too. So I would suggest, if you're not a member of Notary Rotary, to also join Notary Rotary and sign up with the individual signing services themselves. I know a lot of signing services use SnapDocs, but a lot of them don't because it's so expensive. So sign up directly with those signing services. Go to Notary Rotary and look at those signing services that have the 3, 4, and 5-star ratings. And then go ahead and start contacting them and sign up with them. Because what you want to do is you want your phone to ring all the time. You want to be busy. So you do that by letting people know that you're available and what you have to offer. Any
Perfect.
questions, any comments?
There was one comment in the chat box, Phyllis, that from Martha Carasso. She said it's hard here in Massachusetts to market yourself. Almost all of the jobs, specifically in an attorney's office, are required to be a notary, and all banks here have to be. So
Somebody,
she's kind of,
there's some background. Somebody has their mic on, so I can barely hear what you're saying, Beth.
yeah, that would be Angela. And Ronnie, I can't mute Angela. Can you help me out here?
Okay, she's muted. Okay.
Okay. All righty. So she was saying that it's hard for her to market for general notary work because all of the banks and attorney offices all have to be notaries. Do you have a comment to that?
All the banks and I don't know. I can't speak for that particular state, but I know in Texas, it's a lot of documents that the banks won't even notarize, won't even touch. Like wills, they're not going to notarize those. Also in the attorney's office, a lot of them have clients that can't travel. And so they would prefer to hire a mobile notary to travel to their clients. So don't let the fact that a notary is already in that office stop you from marketing to that particular attorney or to that bank. Because like I said, the bank, there's so many documents that the bank will, at least in Texas, that the banks won't even touch.
And
So
as
there's
far as,
always a need.
I'm sorry, as far as loan signings are concerned, a few years ago, it came out where the banks had to actually certify and train anyone who works for the bank to do loan signings. So they don't do loan signings anymore. It was too expensive to train their personnel to do it. And so we did primarily with going into banks for a lot of our signings. So keep that in mind too. It's no reason you can't market yourself to the banks, to the loan officers, managers, and so forth, because there's a lot of work out there.
And there was another question, and I'm not even sure if this is on the same subject, but Rosemarie, are you still there? Do you want
Yes,
to,
ma'am, I am. I'm here.
do you want to ask your question?
So, yes, I've been hearing from a lot of places that people and we're saying that, well, in order for you to get some signings and stuff like that, you have to graduate from this place and you have to graduate from that place and taking trainings from this place and that place. Like I said before, way back in the day when I started all this, not even the NNA was just starting to come out with signing agent classes. So I learned it the hard way, so to speak. I didn't have the luxury of having going to a program to learn on how to become a signing agent. And in a short period of time, I want to say within a year or two, I went from being a signing agent to having my own signing company, which I will never do that again. I'm not about to babysit adults, but when I go back to doing it again, like I said, I just started again in July. One thing I have done to show that I do know what I'm talking about, I sent a whole signing packet. And what I have in my packet is my background screening, my NNA certification as a certified signing agent. I also sent a resume, and my INOs and everything as one packet with my uh, certification from the state as well. But I keep hearing this, so it's almost, it makes me wonder, am I getting hired? Am I not getting a lot of deals in my area because I didn't go and take a class with X, Y, and Z? And what can I do to rectify that? And when I do send an email to a company, I introduce myself. I tell them what my experiences are. I don't tell them in my bio that I have a bachelor's degree, but if they look at my resume, they can see I have 3 college degrees. And the first thing I start off is that I am bilingual in Spanish, and I was a loan originator in the past, and I do have customer service. So they know that I know kind of what I'm talking about.
What's your
So,
zip code?
33810.
I'm just gonna do a quick, you're in
Yeah,
Lakeland,
I
Florida?
appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's just do a quick. So in Lakeland, within 25 miles, I'm just gonna do 25 miles.
Mm-hmm.
25 miles of your zip code, there are 238 notaries.
That
And
explains
of those
why.
238 notaries within 25 miles, if I were looking for just a notary to pro certificate,
Mm-hmm.
there are over 50 that have just notary to pro certificates. So a lot of companies are going to be sending those, and that's notary to pro. There's also the 123 and other companies that I'm not fond of. Those certifications, there's actually tick boxes on SnapDocs and signing order that says I only want those graduates, and it's going to go to those notaries first, and you'll be second choice. And if they say yes before you, they're going to get chosen. And those certifications, and I understand that you might write it in your book biography that you have those, but when we're scheduling thousands of orders a month, not hundreds or 10 or 20, thousands of orders a month, we go by these filters to get these certifications, so we can bring those who've invested in their education. I posted something on Instagram recently that said, you know, would you allow a doctor who's not continuing their education to operate on you? You know,
I understand that, but then the thing is, I don't mind taking a class if I had to. Like, if I didn't invest in it, I wouldn't have taken the certification to become a signing agent. And I understand that, but when you're starting from nothing, even $200 is a lot when you're starting from nothing, and when you only have one income. So I understand. I don't mind extending my education. That is not an issue, because I have done stuff where I've done some NNA classes online to see what's out there, to keep myself up to breath, to see what's going on. I've gone to local meetings where people are very well known, where I could spend $10 or $20 at this time. But when you're getting deals where it's $50 and $60 and you have to print 200 sheets per pack for you and the borrower, that starts to add up. So I understand that.
I don't mind doing that. If there was a program out there to say, hey, well, we have continuing ed for, maybe that's a little hint for you guys, if you could come up with that, a continuing ed for someone that's been in the business, just kind of like a refresher course that's fairly reasonable, I'll be down, I'll be on board with that.
Yeah.
So that means because of me not having, like you said, there's Notary Pro, there's 123, then there's the other two guys that are out there. So that means I have to spend 500, 300, and whatever other, just to get a deal. That's kind of where it's kind of not fair for someone that does have the experience, that know what they're talking about, has done it. When you get companies that say that you're 100% because you've done your due diligence, or you're excellent in what you're doing, and I could prove that because I've seen it on my ticker board when I get a thing from certain companies.
But then
So
you're
you're
taking the
missing out on
slow
somebody.
route to get those companies to onboard you. Whereas if you have those certifications, they don't have to dig as much to find you, and you don't have to work as hard to find them. You take those certifications and you have them up front so that they know if they've never met you before, you don't have to, it's kind of like someone going in for a management position. And sure, they may have worked at a company for, 10 years, but then the college graduate walks in with the degree and says, I've got 4 years experience and I have a degree. And the person who's done it for 10 years, which is probably smarter than the person with the college graduate on that particular job, who's going to get hired. That's what we're looking at here is, if you're struggling, it might be a change of mentality on taking certification courses to get to where you want to be quicker.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Ronnie, we are about almost 30 minutes over time here. I know you had planned to do some giveaways today. Do you want to take the reins there and tell us how we're going to do that?
Well, before we do, I'm going to turn my camera back on. I just want to, first of all, I don't want to end this session without one of the topics that we were going to talk about, because this is going to be the last one for this year.
Okay.
Safety and COVID-19. We were going to talk about safety and COVID-19. We can start out the new year with safety, but let's end this with COVID-19 conversation. I gave this speech to Unlimited Ink Notaries, and it's in all of our orders. And I know that we all come from different walks of life, different areas of the map, and different belief systems, okay? But let me explain to you, and I'm going to say this exactly like I said it to the Unlimited Ink Notaries, and I always tell people, take a look at this arm. You can see it. This one says just, and this one says love. I say this with love. If you ever meet me and I extend my arms to give you a hug, it says just love. But sometimes when I'm on my soapbox, it can sound a little harsh, and I don't want this to come back to me. We are in a pandemic, and I don't know, I am not a scientist if COVID-19 is a real thing or not. I have friends who've been in the hospital for it. Some of my escrow officers' entire offices around the country have been closed from it. I don't know what you believe in. I don't know if you know someone who has it, but safety procedures, please. And if you don't believe in COVID-19, if you think it's a hoax, if you think it's some kind of government made up thing for an election, think about this. Think about your mother, your grandmother, your children, all of those people while you're going in and out of homes as a mobile notary that could be affected over your beliefs. Okay. And then also think about this. You're trying to build a business. Everyone on this call right now is trying to build their business, and you don't know what your lender or your realtor or your signers or your title agency thinks about your procedures. Wear your mask. I have had so many notaries blacklisted because they wear their mask here, or they don't wear their mask properly, or they're not doing things properly. It says in our orders at Unlimited Ink that you must wear a mask and no questions asked. You won't be paid for the signing, and you won't work with us ever again. And that has reigned true. We've lost many notaries during COVID because of personal beliefs. When you're going out in public, you are representing the public as a notary signing agent. Don't be the person who walks through a grocery store because you're not wearing a mask. And again, I understand there's health issues and problems, but you don't know when a lender who knew you at a table, or a signer who knows you at a table, or a title officer who knows you as one of their signing agents is watching you. I don't care what your beliefs are. I care about the success of your notary business. And I say this with love, and I say this with a lot of conviction, because it doesn't matter if COVID-19 is real in your mind or in someone else's mind. We are in the middle of what people have labeled a pandemic, and that can change your future in more than one way, not just by getting COVID-19. It can change your future by losing you business. So you want to be very careful, the person that you represent on social media, the person you represent as a signing agent, and the person you represent to your clients. And to understand, just because your phone is off, just because you're not at a signing, doesn't mean that you're not being judged and labeled. I've seen more notaries blacklisted for not following COVID-19 procedures than I've seen for anything else in the last 10 years. So that's what I want to put on safety procedures. Sure, I want you to be safe. I care about your health. I don't send my notaries to COVID positive signings unless they volunteer to do it. And then I ask them to sign a waiver stating that they're okay doing that signing. And we have some that don't care. But I'm telling you today, for your notary business going into the new year, not only to protect you, but to protect your business, wear your mask. So that's all I have to say on that, because we are wrapping up. As for the giveaways, everyone who has attended this call today, Miss Glory will be taking a tally. She's already got the emails that have come in. If you have your phone number up, it'll all go to those things. There will be a drawing for this month is Miss Carol's course. Next month is Notary Stars, and then we have one for Texas Training Academy. This month you will get it. If you're not a Notary to Pro graduate and you are an attendee, your name will be drawn, and you will be getting a free Notary to Pro course. Next month, if you are not a Notary Star member, you will be getting a free lifetime membership to Notary Stars. And in the next month after that, Miss Phyllis will be giving away one of her training courses as long as you're a Texas notary. And we'll be doing this every month, giving away, and we'll be adding to the giveaways every month as we go along as well. Not every month, but as we go along. This month will be Miss Carol's Notary to Pro course. So if you're not a Notary Pro graduate and you're on this call today, there will be a drawing and you'll be notified. If we pull a Notary to Pro, we'll go to the next person, but it'll be based on who's logged in today. And we'll be giving away a Notary to Pro course. But again, it's for attendance, so only the attendees of this meeting today.
All righty. So I'm going to leave you with a quick story before we sign off. Does everybody know who Toby Keith is? Go. Country Western singer, right?
Yes.
Do we all know who Clint Eastwood is? Dang, you are right on top of it, Ronnie. Yeah, big movie star, big director. Toby Keith and Clint Eastwood are friends. There's about 40 years difference in their ages. They golf almost every weekend. One day, Toby Keith and Clint Eastwood were out golfing, and Clint Eastwood says, "I'm turning 80 next week." I think he's 90 now. Yeah, he was born in 1930. He says, "I'm having a birthday next week." And Toby looks at him and says, "How do you do it? How do you just keep going like that?" And Clint Eastwood looked at Toby and said, "I get up every morning and I don't let the old man in." Toby Keith ended up writing a song called "Don't Let the Old Man In" that is part of Clint Eastwood's movie that's coming out early first quarter next year, and it's called "The Mule." So Toby Keith's song is in there, "Don't Let the Old Man In," and that's what I'm going to leave you with. All you notaries, you primetime notaries, don't let the old man in. Bye, guys. Be good. We'll see you next month.
Hey, Ronnie, you got
Everybody
time
have
for a
a
quick
very Merry
question?
Christmas.